Today, I want to tell you about a side of Elvis Presley that doesn't usually make the headlines. Not the records, not the performances, not even the birthdays filled with cameras and flashbulbs. But the small moments, the ones that quietly shaped who he was. Because when we talk about Elvis's birthday, we're not just celebrating the day he was born. We're honouring the way he lived. And once you notice these small moments, you'll never see him the same way again. So come and sit with me for a while. Get yourself comfy, make yourself a cup of tea, and let's talk about the little things that mattered most to Elvis, especially around his birthdays. Hello my lovely friends, it's Emma here from Just a Girl Who Loves Elvis. Thank you for coming back to spend this time with me. Truly, it means more than I can put into words. This birthday series isn't about rushing through history. It's about slowing down, about noticing, about remembering Elvis not just as an icon, but as a man who felt deeply. And today's episode is one of my favourites in the series, because birthdays aren't always about grand gestures. Sometimes they're about the quiet things, the moments that no one thought to photograph, the conversations that stayed in the room. And Elvis understood the power of those moments better than most. Now Elvis lived a life that moved fast, too fast sometimes. Schedules, flights, studios, crowds. And yet, he had this instinctive ability to slow himself down. People who knew him often said the same thing. Elvis noticed things. He noticed when someone felt uncomfortable. He noticed when someone was left out. He noticed when a moment deserved a pause. That's why birthdays mattered to him. Not because of attention, but because they gave him permission to stop. To acknowledge life. To acknowledge presence. And I think that's something he carried with him from childhood. Because Elvis never took being alive for granted. For Elvis, birthdays weren't about himself alone. Yes, people celebrated him. Yes, there were cakes, gifts, cards and phone calls. But Elvis always redirected the moment outward. He'd ask you how you were doing. He'd want to know if your family were okay. He'd tease you gently for being sentimental. And I think there's something very Elvis about that. Even on his own birthday, he wasn't comfortable being the centre for too long. And let's be honest, if things got too serious, he would absolutely crack a joke, usually at his own expense. Now this is something I talk about a lot, because it's something I adore about him. Elvis was funny. Not stage funny, not scripted funny, but human funny. He loved gentle mischief. He loved playful exaggeration. He loved making people laugh when they least expected it. There are stories of him pretending to be deeply offended over something trivial, only to break into laughter seconds later. He loved nicknames. He loved impressions. He loved lightening the mood. And birthdays. That brought that side of him out beautifully. Because birthdays carry emotion, nostalgia, reflection, even sadness. Elvis seemed to understand instinctively when to soften that with humour. What stays with me most are the stories that aren't dramatic. Elvis quietly giving someone his full attention. Elvis remembering a detail others forgot. Elvis offering reassurance without making a show of it. On birthdays, his own or someone else's, he made people feel seen. And that is no small thing, especially for someone living under constant scrutiny. He gave pieces of himself away, not because he had to, but because it was simply who he was. That generosity didn't switch off when the candles were blown out. It stayed. When we celebrate Elvis's birthday, we aren't just marking a date. We're honouring a life that was shaped by compassion, humour, sensitivity and heart. The small moments mattered to him, and I think that tells us something important. It tells us that legacy isn't only built in big gestures. It's built on how you treat people when no one's watching. And Elvis, he treated people gently. Before we come to the end, I want to gently say this. If this episode brought you comfort, or reminded you why Elvis still matters, or simply felt like a warm pause in your day, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who loves Elvis too. It truly helps this little corner of YouTube grow and keeps these stories alive. And I want to thank you all for being here with me. As we continue this birthday series together, I hope you remember this. Elvis Presley wasn't only born to be celebrated, he was born to connect. And in the small moments, the quiet ones, his heart still shines. So thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for loving Elvis in a way that feels gentle and true. And as always, my lovely friends, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and keep a little Elvis magic in your heart.